I just couldn't see my life without playing tennis and without having a racket in my hand. When I'm on court playing a match, I guess the first thing that's in my head is just getting in the fight with the other person and trying to win every point. I just want to really push it and know that I've done everything I can. Maybe I'm doing something kind of special playing tennis with one arm. Now a huge part of my dream and my life is to inspire other people. I've kind of understood that I can do that a little bit. I'm Alex Hunt, I'm 25 years old, I'm from Nelson, New Zealand, and I'm currently playing tennis on the ITF, International Tennis Federation World Tour. I grew up on a farm just out past Wakefield, and for me, that was the best possible place I could have been brought up. A lot of the time I'd just be on a little 52-wheeler bike chasing Dad around, helping him move sheep, helped him feed out to the cattle or the sheep. It was awesome, I loved it. Growing up on a farm, I was very privileged to do that, and I know how lucky I am, but just stoked as that I got that opportunity. My family has been very supportive of me in life and as a tennis player. Obviously, being born with one arm, maybe they looked after me a bit more than normal. And I think I was very lucky to have two older brothers in that respect, just to be at school if I ever needed anything, or I guess if they needed anything. I don't know what I could have done for them, but we were always there for each other.
That's when you were born. There was quite a lot of interest in you when you were born.
I was just born with one arm, and the umbilical cord got wrapped around when I was still growing inside Mum. And I believe it just stunted the growth. So I've still got my fingers, and I guess my whole hand is there. It just, the growth of it got stunted. Look pretty happy with my arm there, eh?
It wasn't picked up in any scans, and when he was delivered, I was the first one to notice, oh, he hasn't got his hand. And I thought they'd just reach in and put it back on. That was probably my dopey way of thinking after giving birth. But, and then my next thought was, oh, wow, he's been born into the right family. And I don't know why I said that, but it just felt like he was with the right people. He was a very happy, bouncy, go-y little fellow. Nothing stopped him. He had to do everything his brothers did.
Growing up right from a toddler, I suppose, two older brothers, so he had them to chase, I guess. Plenty of rivalry, for sure, whether it was running, swimming, later on driving a car even. So, yeah, Alex certainly benefited, I think, from having two older brothers.
That's probably how I got started on tennis.
Ben and James.
Early.
Getting you into the tennis. One day, if they give me a racket, I'll kick their butt.
Right from the beginning, the first house had a tennis court, first grass, and then...
Yes, 2 generations before my parents. They had the foundation was there for the court, and they played it. It was a grass surface, and then they sealed it.
There's a tennis court up at my grandparents' house, and we'd go up there quite a lot as kids and have a bash around up there. So my whole family played tennis, and I guess I got into it by chasing my brothers around the court, or my parents, or I guess there was tennis balls and tennis rackets lying all over the house, and just fell in love with it through them. I guess there were other sports that I played and I loved as well, but I probably couldn't see my life without tennis, so that's when I knew that was the sport I guess I wanted to keep playing. It's a family sport. We all love it and we all play. My oldest brother was probably up there in the top of New Zealand when he was 12, so he was a very good tennis player. And my middle brother was very good as well. We played a lot of doubles together and did decent, I guess. And my dad is pretty talented. You can just kind of see from the way he goes out there on court and picks up a racket, and I guess that's where we may have got a little bit of that from. And Mum is working on her game.
Do I make it?
No. Mum's obviously been through the game with all three of us. She goes out on court and helps me and feeds me balls and tells me when I'm not quite doing something right.
Once you get to a certain level in a small town, it's quite hard to find enough talent to hit with that will stretch you. So I would spend hours on the court just feeding balls to Alex so he could return them, and he just told me what I should do and I would do it. I think living in a smaller town and not having a lot of boys above him to practice with, he's had to be self-driven and self-motivated. And luckily his nature is that way inclined. You know, you never have to remind him or push him. I've always said to all three of them, there is no limit. You just chase your dreams and you keep going until you decide that you don't want to go any further. There's no such thing as can't. I think maybe some people might look on and think, what's he trying to do? I mean, it's not possible. But gosh, he's even got this far and it's still possible.
I kind of started to think about possibilities of going over to America to college. And then the closer I got to ending year 13, or year 12, I guess, because you have to start that process pretty early. That was starting to get more and more serious, and then it was like, whoa, I'm doing this. And not too much longer, I'd signed with a school over there and I was off. I went into college with two other freshmen, and one of them was from Hawaii and one was from Germany. I guess we were kind of fighting for that last spot in the team because there's 6 people play each match, and we were kind of scrapping for number 6, and I ended up snagging that. And from there, I kind of just moved my way up each year and ended up at number 1 for my final year. I guess my first couple of years over there, I struggled a little bit because I was kind of going into this team atmosphere where you wanted to do well for them, for everyone, the coach, the team. It wasn't just individual, which tennis has always been for me. But going over there to that team environment, I think I felt the pressure a bit more, especially having my arm. But I just felt if I lost or if I wasn't playing well, that I might be letting my team down and it might have something to do with my arm.
Sometimes he lacked a little bit of confidence about, oh, you know, do they think I should be here? Do they actually want me on their team? And sometimes out there on the tour, when he goes out to face an opponent, some opponents don't know how to deal with playing with someone like Alex. So they either are really admiring of him, or they can make a bit of a joke or a laugh about it to help, because they don't want to lose to someone who's only got one arm. And he's had that once where the guy at the other end was really insulting and not behaving well, and Alex just lost his confidence and lost his confidence and lost his confidence in the game. And this guy happened to have mates on the side of the court that were all laughing and things, and Alex thought it was about him. So he sometimes has those kind of mental struggles.
It's definitely a big mental game, especially if you're having a kind of a down patch and you've lost a bit of confidence and you may not be winning matches at that stage. So you can have big ups and downs, and that's when you probably have to really tighten the screws in your head and knuckle down and train harder. I guess you got to give it that little bit extra to try to get out of that down patch. that my dream is to just make it to a Grand Slam, whether that's in doubles or mixed or singles or whatever. That's just always been something I look towards. I was supposed to be home just for maybe a month over Christmas, do some training with my coach and then head off again to start the new season, but that's been delayed. I hit my head pretty hard, and at first I thought it was probably just like a little knock and I'll be a little bit dizzy for a moment and I'll be good later that day, but ended up being a concussion. I think it was probably 4 months ago now, just at the start of the new year. We were moving houses and I went over to our little cottage where we were storing some things, and I removed the gate as I got there and kind of stepped inside and then closed the gate, and then I all of a sudden turned to start walking in and hit my head pretty hard. This is where I hit my head and got my concussion, so not the coolest place to be, but well, we have this wooden door across here to keep the sheep out because we have sheep grazing, and I kind of opened it up, came in, closed it, and then turned and went to walk in and just nailed my head on that, so quite a solid piece of wood. I just thought I'd be dizzy for a couple of minutes and I'd come right in a half an hour or so, but ended up being the whole day. I started to get worse and worse, and then the next 2 or 3 weeks were even worse than that. And then it's been going on for like 4 months now, so I'm starting to get better. But a little bit gutted that it was such a stupid thing that's kept me out of tennis for such a long time. In a way, it's been really good. I got to spend some time with my dog. I've had some time to sit back and relax and not be so caught up in training hard. For me, moving away from New Zealand and home, I was probably a bit of a family guy. That was pretty tough for me. I'd never really spent that much time away from the farm and my dogs and family and stuff like that. I guess packing your bag and living out of a suitcase and being away from family and animals and stuff like that, that was probably the hardest thing for me, is being away from my dog. Last year, or the last 5 years, I guess, being in America and then on tour, I think I FaceTimed that dog probably every day almost, and probably more often than not 2 or 3 times a day. So my parents probably think I was ringing to say hi to them, but every so often it was that reason, but mostly the dog. So I've had some time to think about the sport a lot more and what I want to do, and focus on my social media a little bit, and I guess those people that I'm trying to inspire, and talking to them a bit more. I get a lot of people contacting me on social media. Instagram's a big one, I guess. I guess that world's huge now. And I get so many cool messages from people on there, and just that they've seen my story and it's given them hope.
Here he is, here he is.
That's been awesome, helping them and kind of coaching while I've been home.
All right, and when I say go, you're going to do a little sprint to there and back, okay? Go. Nice, and then back into the fast feet.
That silver lining for me, being able to be home with the family, training with my coach, working on little parts of my game, has been pretty good for my tennis. It's getting a lot better now, but at the start of it, I was really doing barely anything. And just in the last probably 2 weeks, I've started to do a lot more on court and just started getting back in the gym with my trainer.
Sets of 3, so you'll do over and back on here first up. Then we'll do reverse outs on Stumpy, and we'll do steps. It has actually just been a real setback for him. We're in a really good training space. I've probably had him fitter than I'd ever had him. This head injury that he's had has been really interesting, and I think for him, that thing about a hidden injury versus a very obvious, disability of an arm that's not there, and the difference in the perception of it has been a big learn and a big grow up for him. So we've just had to come through the rehab of that with some support and on tender feet, really. Okay, go to the first leg, chuck this on, pull out on it just as you go over. Put it on Stumpy as well. Put it up to elbow.
Oh, yeah.
Stay down in front. You won't manage it up there. Okay, foot on. Pull out as you go over. Yeah, that's better, that's better. Feel a difference? Core, core. Yeah, much better. Lengthen it out, out you come. Knee in control. Use your core as you're landing. Flick it as you're taking off. Good, much better. 2 more.
Me and Claire go way back, actually. I've known her probably since I was born. She knew my parents and helped them out with the fact that I was born with one arm. She's worked with Paralympic athletes and stuff like that before, so she knows us kind of people really well. She was probably the first person I texted and got in touch with when I did hit my head. Just the knowledge she has about everything, as well as probably head knocks and injuries and stuff like that. She was one of the first people I went to. So she's been awesome mentally and physically, I guess. She probably loves trying to find things I can't do and getting the best out of me, which is unreal. But I try to give it back to her just as hard and just give her a bit of something back.
Better. Get your hand off your butt.
I'm trying to get that muscle
I know you are, but I will do that. You keep your hands even so you're focused. He's fun. We have a lot of laughs. We're good mates. And I have to work hard to make him work hard because he's really, really good at cracking a joke when the going gets tough so he can stop. So he needs a good kick. You're going for it. I don't care about the landing. I want control on your core. And now you've screwed it. It's all right.
Oh, that's easy. I've got it. Come on.
We'll transfer it onto the other side. Come on.
What was that?
Yeah. Left brain, right brain. Switch it over. He doesn't compete with any other players with disabilities. I don't think he's ever played anyone with a disability. He only ever plays against able-bodied players. As far as the Nelson region is concerned, I think he's probably would be number 1 or 2 in the Nelson region if he was playing here regularly. So he's playing elite tennis. He is an able-bodied elite tennis player with a little bit of a difference on how we have to do some of the things for him and how he needs to technically do things.
So, try and bring that racket more into that outwards.
My coach, John Gardner, he's just an awesome guy. I've known him for a very long time now. I worked with him before I went to college, and then I guess whenever I'm home now, I see him and work with him.
So, slow down. Yeah, I remember seeing him for the first time being pretty blown away at what he could do as an 8 or 9-year-old, and his skill level already at that age was pretty high. The last 2 years when he's been travelling the world and been very exciting and made me very proud, and probably more than anything proud that he has chosen tennis as his pathway in life. Really, when you spend a bit of time with him on court or off court, you soon forget that there's part of an arm missing. Well, the big thing is the backhand. Most players these days are playing a 2-handed backhand, so he's always walked out on the court and that's the obvious go-to for his opponents. It looks like the easy point. He's had to work very hard on developing the backhand.
We've just stripped down my game and worked on a few things, trying to kink out a few issues in my game. At times, I just want to go for it, and my fitness is down and everything like that, so it's frustrating, but it's awesome to be getting back into it. I've played my whole life with my prosthetic on and put the ball on the end and thrown it up. And then last year in Thailand, actually, I injured my stump, so I couldn't wear my prosthetic. I was thinking, how am I going to serve? What am I going to do? Last year, I injured my stump, so I couldn't wear my prosthetic. And then for the next probably 4 or 5 days, I couldn't wear it. And I thought, well, I need to train. And I need to be out there doing fitness and stuff. So I was with my friend and we trained that whole week and I played without my arm on. And just the freedom, it's hard to explain, but the freedom that gave me to be out there without this extra piece on my arm, which that extra piece is amazing and it's helped me so much. But without that on court, I just felt freer, like I could open up and there wasn't this thing hanging off me.
I was in Australia in the middle of last year. He was in Thailand or Vietnam, and he texts me in classic form. He normally texts about 1 word per text. So when you hear your phone going ding, 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 you know it's him, because you got to read through about 20 texts. So he's in pretty blunt country boy fashion said to me, "You're not going to like this, but I've just hit a few balls without my arm on, and it's way better." And I'm thinking, really, 10, 12 years into playing tennis, you make this decision now? See if you can hold that on your own now.
I got boxes of balls and went out there and practiced that every day. Every day I got that little bit more confidence, and I was thinking, gee, maybe I can do this. It wasn't pretty, but I was getting the ball in the court. I decided that was awesome. I'm going to play like that, and that was me. And then I got home for Christmas, and I was ready to play the New Zealand Nationals. I've never been more nervous than I was to go out in front of other New Zealanders. I guess in Asia, no one knows me, so I can just go out and I'm free and it doesn't matter. But to come back and have coaches from New Zealand and the kids looking at me and thinking, why is he doing that? I felt a little bit naked out there without my arm, and so it was weird. No one's probably ever seen someone take their arm off, put it at the back of the court. In my head, I think I can do everything, and I like to try to give things a go. So for me, there was no other way. I was just going to try and do it. I normally find a way to at least manage how to get through there somehow. It might not be the best way, but I fudge my way through somehow. So.
If I get this closer than your ball is.
If you get closer than that, I'll buy you a dozen. Ooh. Yeah, there you go. Oh, you might want to start again, though, eh? A bit of pressure now. It's a confident putt, though. Oh, hello! First time I met him, probably formally, was at college, I'd say. We knew of each other. I remember the first time I came across him was playing soccer against him. And he was really good at soccer, too. I'm thinking, who the hell's this guy? And then we knew of each other, and then going through college, we never really came across it. We never had a class until year 13, and then we were both in the same PE class. We're doing golf and PE, like it's quite, something you can just pick up straight away, so I try to help most people out. And then Alex, I didn't actually realise he was freaking out going into that golf thing because he'd never played golf before. And so, yeah, I helped him out a little bit, and he put in a lot of work. If you go one-handed, I'll go one-handed. That's a joke. And then before you know it, he's the only person to beat him in golf and PE was me, and that's it. He beat everyone else there. Oh, how do you do it like that? Christ.
It's just like a little flick. That's gold.
One more.
I think it's important to have other hobbies or things you just love doing outside of your sport or whatever you're choosing to do in life. And for me, that's golf and fishing and a few other different sports.
Juicy piece, eh?
Got a big one.
And probably another thing that I didn't think I could do was filleting a fish.
Oh, I'm getting a bite.
Hey, it's a snapper, Dad. Good one.
Oh, yeah, I'm getting a bite over here. Yep, bring it closer. Come on.
I love fishing. There's nothing more I love doing is sitting out there with Dad fishing, or whether it's for trout or snapper or whatever it is. And I kind of feel bad for Dad because he gets dragged out there and he probably spends a lot of time taking my fish off the hook as well as his. When I was younger, he used to bait my hook, but obviously I've found a way to do that. The part where I felt the worst for Dad was when we would get back and caught some fish. He had to fillet them himself, and sometimes it can take quite a while to fillet a fish. So since we moved a bit closer to the sea, I've been kind of, the first few times we went out, I was just kind of watching and seeing how he does it and trying to learn a little bit. And then more recently when we went out, I kind of was watching the first couple again, and then I said to him, do you reckon I can do that maybe? Like I could maybe try one, does it matter if I screw it up? And so we went out and we got a knife each, and he kind of taught me or took me through the stages of doing it. tennis is awesome because it makes me feel good and know that I can do something well. But to have those other little things that I figure out is just, I don't know, it makes you feel real accomplished after that.
Go too fast.
Yeah. Dropped it a little.
I did get the first fish in the boat.
And the first rock. So there's a few things that drive me, and the first thing would be inside here. Myself and me wanting to be the best I can at tennis, and I guess as a person as well. But the biggest thing pushing me is that for those other kids like me that are born, just being able to change those kids' lives, or the way they look at life, or the way they look at little things in life that they can't quite manage, or they don't think they can, but if they give it a go, they can do it. Those are the things that inspire me and motivate me to keep trying to get better for them, but also for myself.